Sonic Movieverse Book 2, Gotta Go Fast, Chapter 4, The Compass. Knuckles was conflicted. He had spent his life training to become the best warrior in the galaxy, aiming to find the legendary Master Emerald and restore honor to his tribe. His research first led him to the Blue Hedgehog, but after losing sight of his whereabouts, his road ended on the Mushroom Planet, where he rescued Dr. Robotnik. The man's eyes appeared to be filled with sorrow as he described how badly the Hedgehog had defeated him, and it had taken much plating on his end to convince Knuckles to help him on his mission. The two agreed to assist each other, making a valiant deal. The human would help him find the Master Emerald, and in return, he would help him defeat Sonic once and for all. The longer Knuckles spent time with Robotnik, the more flaws he discovered in the scene. Mainly, the young fox. He had aided to subdue and capture a child who was terrified of him and had even admitted so. Knuckles had vowed to himself that he would never use his warrior training against a defenseless youngling, that he would always make it his side goal to protect them, and yet he had broken that vow. The shame that befell him at committing such a dishonorable act rendered him speechless. Had his tribe witnessed such horror, he would have been banned with certainty.
There you are.
His pondering was interrupted by the doctor, who made his way over to him.
You seem lost in thought.
Robotnik remarked.
Care to share?
Knuckles kept his gaze trained onto the unconscious fox, who was locked in the small cage once more.
I am getting impatient,
he admitted, arms crossed.
We are so close to the Master Emerald, I can almost feel it in my veins.
The human chuckled.
So can I, my friend. I'm quite eager myself. You know, I cannot wait to get rid of the hedgehog, and with your help I am certain we will be the victors.
The Red Mobian hummed, nodding to Tails.
And what of the fox? What fate awaits him?
Are you suggesting you care for the animal, Knuckles?
I do not.
The Echidna denied with a growl.
My belief system prevents me from bringing harm to children who should never have been involved.
And yet, you had no problem doing what I asked you to.
Knuckles paused.
You are my friend!
It felt odd for him to admit it, but he couldn't deny the kinship he had built with the human who shared the same goal as he.
And I merely acted upon your best interests.
All right.
The doctor dismissed.
We'll let him know.
At this, the Echidna raised an eyebrow.
Just like that?
After we're done with him, of course.
Robotnik didn't miss the roll of the creature's eyes.
What can I say? He makes great bait for the hedgehog. The sooner we go through with this, the better. Wouldn't you agree?
Knuckles huffed, keeping his eyes trained onto the kit, who began to stir. The madmen stepped forward and crouched in front of the cage, blocking Knuckles' view from their prisoner.
It's your time.
The moment Sonic stepped through the ring, he was thankful for his scarf. The Siberian winds caught in his quills, chilling him to the bone.
Could use the jacket.
He bitterly thought, rubbing his arms. He shook himself, looking at his surroundings. The sun was bright, a contrast to the darkness of green hills as it shone throughout the valley. Sonic spared a glance at Tails' device. Noting the blimp on the screen, he followed it, running around the mountains at record speed while following the blimp, which eventually led him to a cave opening. He cautiously stepped inside. Instantly warming up, he breathed a sigh of relief, thankful to be out of the harrowing cold. Before making his way forward, eyeing the walls around him, most of them were lined with symbols that Sonic couldn't make out, but could recognize from the ones on his map. He pulled it out, eyeing the familiar symbols, then the wall again. He groaned, unable to decipher anything. Figuring it wasn't too important, or nothing that Longclaw had left out. He moved along, watching his every step for traps. He eventually reached a slim opening and he squeezed his way through with little difficulty. He was met with a jaw-dropping sight. A Ghent old statue majestically rose in the corner of the room, lit by the sun through the openings in the ceiling. It looked just like his old mentor, which made him smile with nostalgia. He missed her so very much, but the message she had left for him had warmed his heart. The blue blur began to investigate the room, looking for any sign of the compass. He found none, but he stumbled upon 4 squares with familiar symbols drawn to them. He compared them to his map, finding them out of order on the stones. Feeling pride at having figured it out, he entered the correct combination onto the stones. Suddenly, the statue brightened with a green glow. A loud rumble echoing in the room. Sonic stumbled, managing to recover his balance before he could fall. He watched as the stones opened to reveal empty slots, or so he thought. He narrowed his eyes, noting a glow emanating from behind the slots before a foreign object rolled forward. Sonic dashed forward, catching it before it could hit the ground. He smiled to himself when he opened his hand, revealing the compass resting in his palm. Its glow brought warmth to him, reflecting in his emerald eyes. Sonic determinedly clutched the compass in his hand, staring back at the statue's glowing eyes.
I swear, I will avenge you, Longclaw, and I will find Tails wherever he is, and protect him at all costs.
He vowed.
You won't have to look far. My spiky blue enemy.
Sonic wheeled around, facing the source of the familiar voice. He instantly took on a defensive stance, growling.
Eggman, tell me where Tails is now.
The man in the hovercraft grinned, nodding to the Echidna holding on to the side. In a swift move, Knuckles grabbed the kit, who was previously hidden behind the human, by the scruff of the neck. Earning a choked cry and a nasty side eye, Sonic gasped, seeing his friend restrained and covered in bruises.
Tails?
He exclaimed, catching the fox's attention.
Sonic!
The younger boy replied, swarming in Knuckles' hold. In vain.
Run?
The hedgehog vehemently protested the idea.
I won't leave you behind.
Tails groaned, sending a subtle sign to his older brother in hopes that he would notice. When he did, he yelled.
I'll be fine, I'll go.
Robotnik wheeled around, facing the kit.
Be quiet, you little twerp.
However, that short moment cost him, for the hedgehog immediately bolted out of the room, using the madman's distraction as an opportunity. Robotnik growled, firing missiles at the retreating figure.
After him.
He shouted when the missiles failed to hit their mark, sending his creations after Sonic. The red Echidna quickly ran behind, letting go of the kit. Robotnik promptly followed, eager to get rid of his sworn nemesis once and for all. Unbeknownst to him, Tails had a trick up his sleeve, a single quill, courtesy of his big brother. He kept the quill hidden in his glove, waiting for the opportune moment to use it, and this moment was now. While he and the madman flew behind the action, he pulled the quill out, using it to pick the locks of the cuffs on his wrists. How foolish of a self-proclaimed genius to underestimate the fox. The first lock gave way with a gentle click, and the fox momentarily stilled, hoping Robotnik had heard. When he made no sign of noticing his escape attempt, he worked on picking the second lock. It took no time for him to be released from his restraints, and he smirked, bracing himself.
Hey, Eggman!
The human wheeled around, unprepared for the call behind him.
What?
He was met with a punch to the face, groaning as pain immediately blossomed on his cheek, and the hovercraft wobbled in the air, unsteady from its master's sudden lack of control. Tails used that moment to jump out of the hovercraft, propelling himself out of reach. Eat that, he yelled, laughing in Robotnik's face before flying after Sonic and Knuckles, who were by now engaged in a suspenseful brawl. Once the doctor recovered from the blow, he screeched in rage.
Don't let him get away.
His one remaining robot soon followed, attempting to knock the fox out of the sky. The Mobian swerved as the robot shot a laser at him.
I.
He exclaimed, gaining speed to get away while simultaneously approaching the duo. Another idea formed in his mind as he noticed that the Echidna wasn't paying attention to him, too focused on trying to take Sonic down. Tails stealthily flew closer to the red figure, baiting Robotnik's robot to follow him.
Sorry, Knuckles, but you leave me no choice.
Tails whispered to himself. The robot aimed and took its shot at the flying kit. However, Tails dodged just in time, and the laser hit Knuckles square in the back. The Echidna was knocked off the homemade hoverboard with a shout, and Tails winced to himself before catching up to his brother. Sonic, upon hearing the cry of his nemesis, peeked behind him only to find his friend, who, despite his banged-up state, was keeping up with him with a huge smile.
Tails.
He gleefully yelled, slowing down just enough to let his brother fly directly by his side.
Are you all right, little buddy?
The young fox nodded, softly panting from the exhaustion creeping in, but the smile remained plastered on his face.
Yeah, I'm fine, but we gotta get out of here while we have the chance.
However, no sooner had he said that the previously forgotten robot took another shot at the duo, which landed directly in front of Sonic's own hoverboard, sending him flying. The compass fell from his hand, landing off to the side where Knuckles, who had recovered from the blow, stood glaring at the fox, feeling betrayed. Tails gasped, ignoring the loss of the compass and the look on the Echidna's face in favor of tending to his brother.
Sonic!
The hedgehog grimaced, trying to get up from where he had fallen.
I'm okay, Tails.
He muttered, angry at himself for letting go of the one thing that would give them an advantage over the enemy. He leaned against the fox, who helped him up.
We gotta get that compass.
There's no time, let's just,
Whoa, oh.
The familiar laugh reached the struggling duo's ears, and they glanced at the madman, hovering menacingly in front of them from a fair distance. The man let Knuckles climb back onto his hovercraft, holding onto the compass in his gloved hand.
I'll take that.
The doctor added, impatiently holding his hand out.
Wait!
The shrill cry of a child reached the Echidna's ears, and he paused, making eye contact with the young fox.
Knuckles, don't do it, he's just going to take it for himself.
The red Mobian shook his head in denial, while the doctor frowned.
How wrong of you to assume I would double-cross my friend. After all, we have a deal, don't we, Knuckles?
Don't listen to him, please, I know he want honor.
The fox insisted, and then his gaze softened.
You know this too.
Sonic, who was surprised by the exchange and the passion in Tails' voice, piped up.
We don't need him. We can help you.
However, this had the opposite of the desired effect, for the Echidna snapped to attention, glaring at the hedgehog.
I don't need your help.
He spat, decisively giving Robotnik the compass.
You lose, hedgehog.
The human shouted with a smirk.
See you on the other side.
With a maniacal laugh, he flew away with Knuckles by his side, compass flauntingly in hand. For extra measure, he fired 2 missiles behind him. Both the hedgehog and fox hastily dodged in separate directions, hoping that scattering would help them avoid the missiles easier. While Sonic succeeded, his brother wasn't so lucky. The projectile exploded right next to the kit, causing him to fall onto the snowy hill with a sharp cry and a thud.
Tails, no?
Knuckles dared take a peek from where he hung, perched on Robotnik's hovercraft. He barely caught sight of the blue blur, cradling the down shot in his arms. A loud rumbling sound echoed through the mountains. An avalanche soon followed, heading straight for the dew. The Echidna shook his head, finding himself in conflict between his heart and mind. Soon, he and Robotnik disappeared from sight. Sonic, who grimly held on to Tails' unconscious form, finally took notice of the sudden danger ahead. He threw a ring with only one place